She was alone at the gala. Then a mysterious billionaire whispered, "Dance with me at midnight," amidst the shimmering chandeliers and the enchanting buzz of silk dresses brushing against sleek tuxedos. Claire felt like a ghost. The extravagant gala, alive with laughter and passionate conversations, wrapped around her like a heavy fog, isolating her. She watched the world move around her, faces glowing under the soft, golden light, but all she could feel was the pang of loneliness deep in her chest. It pulsed like a drum, loud and insistent, urging her to break free from the invisible chains that held her back. A flicker caught her eye. There, across the room, was a man draped in an aura of mystery. He stood confidently at the edge of the dance floor, a deep navy suit hugging his frame, his tousled hair hinting at a rebellious spirit. People danced around him, yet he seemed entirely lost in thought, dark eyes scanning the crowd, landing on her. The world slowed. Claire's heart thudded in her ears. Who was he? Suddenly, the crowd parted like a sea, revealing the stranger. He strode toward her, each step deliberate, a predator closing in on its prey. His gaze held a magnetism that made Claire's breath catch in her throat. The laughter faded, and all sounds dimmed to a haunting silence, as if they were the only two left in existence. "Would you care to dance?" he asked, his voice a soothing, rich drawl that sent shivers down her spine. She was taken aback, the breath hitching in her throat. The way he pronounced each word sent warm currents racing through her, a mix of excitement and fear. The room stirred, murmurs bubbling up like a brewing storm. "Who is that guy?" someone whispered nearby. "Isn't he the billionaire who just moved here?" another voice added, tinged with intrigue. As whispers floated through the air, Claire's pulse quickened. What did he want from her? "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The millionaire's presence enveloped her like a thick fog, raising the hairs on her arms. "Dance with me at midnight," he said, his gaze piercing into her soul. The world was a blur, her worries evaporating like morning mist. Yet, an unsettling whisper nagged at her. This man was cloaked in secrets. What would happen at midnight? Why this sudden attraction? Why her? Before she could respond, the clock chimed unexpectedly. Each peal echoed in her mind, an ominous warning. The reality hit her like a splash of ice water. Should she accept the dance? And behind that charming smile, what darkness lay hidden? The midnight hour was creeping up. What choice would she make? Claire's heart raced as the echo of the clock reverberated through the hall. The din of laughter and clinking glasses faded into a low thrum in her ears. Dance with me at midnight. The invitation hung in the air, too tempting to resist, yet too ominous to accept fully. She felt a bead of sweat trickle down her back. The crowd around them swirled with life, but it felt like Claire and this enigmatic billionaire were trapped in a bubble, separate from the world. Every moment stretched, every breath felt heavy, and the flickering candlelight around them seemed to play tricks on her mind. "What is your name?" she blurted out, trying to shake off the spell he cast over her. "Isaac," he replied, his lips curling into a smile that danced on the edge of mischief. "And you're Claire," the woman who stood out in a sea of familiar faces. Her cheeks flushed at his praise, but something deep in her gut told her to proceed with caution. "What do you want from me, Isaac?" Claire challenged, her voice firmer than she felt. His gaze darkened momentarily, hinting at a hidden depth she couldn't quite decipher. He stepped closer, their bodies almost touching now. "I want to show you something that most people will never see." "What's that supposed to mean?" she asked, her pulse hitching. Before he could respond, the clock's last chime faded, and a wave of music washed over them, vibrant and inviting. Isaac extended his hand, beckoning her to join him on the dance floor. She could feel the weight of those curious gazes boring into her, everyone watching, everyone waiting for her to make the first move. As she placed her hand in his, an electric shock coursed through her. He pulled her into the rhythm of the dance, leading her with surprising grace. For a fleeting moment, apprehension melted away, replaced by an exhilarating thrill. They twirled and swayed among the masses, their bodies moving as if choreographed by fate. But then, the music shifted, turned heavy with an underlying tension. Isaac's grip tightened, his expression becoming serious, almost haunted. "There are rules in this world, Claire," he whispered, leaning in close so only she could hear. "You must choose wisely. Not everything is as it seems." A chill ran down her spine. Was he warning her? Or was this just part of the allure? As they danced beneath the flickering lights, shadows of doubt crept back in. The other guests twirled joyfully, oblivious to whatever unspoken danger lurked between them. Suddenly, a loud crash drew Claire's attention. A champagne glass shattered on the marble floor, and gasps filled the room. She whipped around to find the source of the disruption and saw a figure slipping out through an unmarked door. Isaac's grip slackened, his eyes darting towards the exit, the fleeting moment of connection disappearing like smoke. "Stay with me," he insisted, but his voice had changed. It was laced with urgency. "Who was that?" Claire asked, trying to peer through the crowd that was now buzzing with surprise and excitement. "I don't know," he replied, masking something beneath his calm facade. "But we can't stay here. Not now." Panic surged in Claire's chest. The night was spiraling into chaos, and the promise of a dance at midnight now felt like the opening of Pandora's box. "Wait, what do you mean? Where are we going?" she demanded, pulling her arm away. He hesitated, searching her face for a response, then threw a glance over his shoulder, the tension palpable. "Trust me," he said, the warmth of his voice returning, but the weight of his words lingered in the air. "We need to move now. Before it's too late." And as he turned, taking her hand once more, Claire felt the dread curl around her heart. What had she just stepped into? The night was far from over, and the secrets it held were about to unfold. But could she trust him? The answer hung in the air, waiting to be discovered. Claire's mind raced as she followed Isaac through the throng of guests, the music pulsing around them like a heartbeat. The mood had shifted, excitement turned to anxiety, and a creeping sense of dread gnawed at her. "Where are we going?" she panted, her breath quickening as they approached a dimly lit corridor. The shadows felt oppressive, wrapping around her as they moved deeper into the darkness. "Somewhere safe," Isaac stated, his grip unyielding on her hand. His words held a certainty that both reassured and terrified her. What danger lurked just beyond the entrance where the joyous laughter now sounded hollow? They slipped through a door marked with a simple, staff-only sign, entering a narrow stairwell that spiraled downward. Claire felt the chill of the stairway seep through her dress. With each step, the clamor of the gala above faded away, replaced by a heavy silence thick enough to swallow words. Isaac halted at the bottom, pushing open another door into a small, sleekly furnished room. A single overhead light illuminated a table laden with odd trinkets, an ornate dagger, old photographs, and strange-looking devices that hummed softly. "What is this place?" Claire asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Welcome to my world," he said cryptically, his eyes darting over the items like a hawk monitoring prey. "Your world?" Claire frowned, the realization hitting her. "You're not just some wealthy playboy, are you?" He chuckled softly, but it lacked warmth. "Wealth, power, and secrets, those are the currencies of this life. And you, Claire, have unwittingly stepped into a game that's been in play long before you arrived." The hair on the back of her neck stood up. The stakes were no longer about extravagant parties or glamorous dances. "What the hell do you mean by game?" His expression darkened. "Those who know too much can find themselves in dangerous positions. I didn't bring you here to scare you, but there are things about this gala, about me, that can't be revealed in the light." Just then, a loud bang echoed from the hallway, jolting Claire's heart. Her instincts kicked in, panic surged through her veins. "Someone's coming." She gasped, glancing toward the door. Isaac moved swiftly, blocking her view. "Stay back," he hissed, his tone dropping to a low rumble. She felt the tension spike as they both stood rooted in place. The approaching footsteps grew louder, more deliberate, a sinister rhythm that matched her racing heart. "Claire!" A voice called from down the hall. It was a familiar voice, one that sent ice through her veins. "Claire, where are you?" "Evelyn?" she whispered, her best friend emerging from the shadows as the door swung slightly ajar. Claire felt a mixture of relief and dread wash over her. What was Evelyn doing here? "Stay where you are," Isaac warned, stepping in front of Claire protectively. "You trust her?" Claire hesitated, her heart caught between loyalty and survival. "Yes. She's my friend." But just before she could reach for the door, a second figure appeared behind Evelyn, a man with cunning eyes and a dark smile. Claire recognized him instantly, Ryan, the man who had been obsessed with her since high school, someone who thrived on chaos. "What's this? A secret club?" Ryan grinned. "You two lovebirds really know how to keep a party going." A surge of resentment clawed at Claire. "You should leave, Ryan." But Ryan merely laughed, stepping into the room. "Not a chance. I heard there was some cake crashing in here." Isaac's posture shifted, the air crackled with tension. "You'd better turn around before you regret walking in here." "Or what?" Ryan taunted, hands balled into fists, eyebrows raised defiantly. The weight of impending conflict hung in the air. Claire's chest tightened with anxiety. Would they be ensnared in this twisted reality where the lines between friend and foe blurred? As the moment compressed, Claire felt all eyes locked on her. Forces beyond her understanding were colliding, and she was at the center of it. What choices lay ahead? The night was far from over, and the shadows were ready to reveal their secrets. But could Claire navigate the web before it ensnared her completely? The decision hung heavy, and the clock was ticking. The air was electric, charged with uncertainty as Claire stood frozen, her mind racing. The danger was palpable, almost as if the walls themselves were leaning in, eager to listen. "Claire!" Evelyn's voice pierced through the noise, but it was drowned out by the escalating standoff in the room. Ryan's gaze was focused intently on Isaac, almost as if he could sense the unsaid truths hanging between them. "Do you really think you can protect her, Isaac?" Ryan sneered. "You're playing a dangerous game. One that could easily burn you both." Isaac's jaw tightened, a flicker of something fear? Anger? Flashed in his dark eyes. "You don't understand the stakes." Claire's heartbeat thundered in her ears. "What stakes?" she demanded, her voice rising above the tension, desperation lacing her words. "Please, someone tell me what is going on." The realization crashed down on her. They were standing on the edge of a precipice, and one wrong move could send them tumbling down. "Ryan, you need to leave." Evelyn's voice trembled now, her bravado slipping. "This isn't the place for you." "What's wrong? Scared I'll let the cat out of the bag?" Ryan laughed, but there was a sharpness in his tone that made Claire's stomach churn. "Just back off," Claire shouted, stepping forward despite Isaac's outstretched arm. She wasn't going to cower. Not tonight. If she was going to get through this, she needed to be brave. "You don't know what you're messing with." "None of us do." "Ah, the brave little princess," Ryan mocked, tilting his head with a smirk. "But you're in over your head." Before Claire could respond, a loud thud echoed down the corridor, causing all of them to jump. The shadow of a silhouette slinked across the dim light at the door, and Claire's heart leaped into her throat. Another figure was coming, but the tension was already at a boiling point. "Enough of this charade." A new voice boomed. The sound was deep and commanding, resonating like an ominous bell tolling for doom. A tall man stepped into the room. Dark hair caressed his sharp features, and his eyes scanned the scene like a predator assessing prey. Anxiety bristled on Claire's skin as she met his intense gaze. "Who the hell are you?" Ryan snapped, visibly irritated. That's not what matters right now, the newcomer replied smoothly, keeping his voice low and calculated. What matters is that you're all tangled in something that goes deeper than any of you realize. Go deeper? Claire echoed, bewildered. Deeper than what? Isaac clenched his fists, frustration spilling over. This is not about you, Ryan. This is much bigger than us. Toying with people's lives for your own entertainment is reckless. Ryan's bravado faltered for a moment, but only briefly. I think I'll decide what's reckless, thanks. The stranger stepped closer, eyes sharp on Claire. Do you want to know what the game is really about? For a split second, the tension cracked like glass. Claire's heart raced, a whirlwind of thoughts twisting in her mind. What game? What truths were held in the darkness? Ryan's smirk faded as he began to pick up on the shift. You're making a mistake thinking you can intimidate me, he said, voice cold. The stranger's eyes flickered with something that made Claire shiver, the promise of danger. Believe me, Ryan. This isn't intimidation. This is survival. And if you stay, you might not make it out. An eerie silence settled as Ryan hesitated, calculation wrestling with pride in his eyes. Claire's breath hitched, wondering if they were about to witness his withdrawal, or an escalation of something much darker, and then, the silence shattered. An explosion of sound from the hallway surged into the room, an overwhelming cacophony of shouts and panic that reverberated in Claire's chest. Stray guests were rushing toward the door, unaware of the chaos brewing within. Get down! Isaac shouted, instinctively pulling Claire back just as the newcomer moved like a shadow toward Ryan. Claire's heart hammered as chaos unfolded around her, every instinct screaming at her to run. The stakes had just risen, and now the fragile weave of their fates depended on split-second decisions. Could she trust Isaac once more? Would Evelyn stand by her? And what about this enigmatic stranger who seemed to hold all the cards? The very foundation of their reality was shifting beneath them, and Claire felt the ground pull away just as the door slammed shut. What lay on the other side, and who would emerge unscathed? The night was just beginning, and the darkest secrets were yet to be unveiled. The loud shouts morphed into screams as footsteps pounded against the polished floor, echoing like thunder. Claire's breath quickened, the chaos swirling around her like a storm. She gripped Isaac's arm, her nails digging in, trying to pull strength from him. As she saw the panic spreading, she realized the night was about to take an even darker turn. Do you hear that? Evelyn shouted over the noise, her fear evident. It's coming closer. The stranger moved back, scanning the doorway where shadows danced, casting grotesque shapes. We need to brace ourselves. They're not here for a party. Claire's heart scratched against her ribs. Who's coming? The weight of her question hung in the air, heavy and taut. Everything is spiraling, Isaac murmured, his focus locked on the door. Claire caught a flicker of fear in his eyes, and a chill ran down her spine. Did he know something she didn't? Instinct told Claire to flee, to find safety in the chaos. Yet, another part of her rooted in place, an unwillingness to abandon the people she cared for. We can't let them in. She gestured toward the door, a barrier separating danger from their fragile reality. Suddenly, the door rattled violently. With a loud crash, it burst open to reveal a pair of imposing figures, dressed in black. Their eyes were cold and hungry, surveying the room with predatory precision. The crowd behind Claire scattered, creating a frenzy that tore through the gala like a wave. What do you want? Ryan shouted, stepping slightly in front of Claire, his bravado faltering. The taller of the two men smirked, a gleam of malice in his eyes. We're here for something valuable. His voice dropped, dripping with threat. And you're all in the way. Claire's heart sank. What are you talking about? The stranger beside her moved in front, glancing over his shoulder at the chaos erupting. There's no time for games. We need to regroup. Before he could finish, one of the intruders lunged forward, knocking aside a nearby table. The crystal glasses shattered, a shower of shards spraying across the ground. Claire yelped, instinctively backing up, her heart racing as the tension flared. Run! Isaac shouted, his voice cutting through the fray. Go! Panic slammed into Claire like a wall. She hesitated, fear anchoring her feet. The world felt too loud, too chaotic, the threat too real. Her breath came out in quick bursts, a tight knot forming in her chest. Just then, a glimmer of silver caught her eye, a glint from the stranger's wrist, a strange device swirling with motion. Whatever you do, trust me, he commanded fiercely, flicking his wrist. A blinding flash erupted, filling the room and throwing everyone into disarray. Claire shielded her eyes as the light melted through the panic, but when it faded, it left chaos in its wake. People were on the ground, disoriented, the intruders snarled in anger. Get them! One of the intruders roared, fury etched on his face. A rush of adrenaline coursed through Claire. She darted forward, pulled by instinct, dragging Isaac behind her. They needed to escape. Heart hammering, she plunged into the throng of panicked guests heading for the exits, but just as they neared the door, the other figure appeared, blocking their path, hands raised, a sinister smile spreading across his lips. You think you can get away that easily? Out of the way! Claire shouted, her voice laced with desperation. Isaac surged ahead, ready to confront the men, but Claire raised her hand. No! We can't fight them. The world slowed to a crawl as the interplay of fear and adrenaline coursed through her veins. Just as they turned to find another exit, she felt a pull at her mind, a flash of clarity amidst the chaos. Evelyn! We can't leave her. Isaac hesitated, scanning the chaos. We have to choose. Claire stood at a crossroads of fear and loyalty. In this life and death moment, she realized the stakes were higher than she had ever imagined. Just then, a gunshot rang out, echoing through the hall, striking like lightning. Go! Isaac yelled as he turned back towards her, fear now blooming in his eyes. Her heart sank. They were out of time. Claire! Evelyn screamed, caught in the clutches of chaos. Claire felt a weight settle in her gut. The night had turned, and the dangerous truth was about to unravel. What would she choose? Stay and fight, or run and abandon those she loved? The answer would come at a cost. All they had to do was survive, but the price was becoming clearer with each passing moment. The world erupted into screams, a cacophony of terror drowning out Claire's racing thoughts. One look at Isaac's frightened eyes told her everything. There was no way out. Just when she thought she had found courage, paralyzed by panic, she felt a sharp tug, a desperation that forced her forward. Evelyn! Claire yelled again, her voice almost lost among the chaos. She turned back, searching for her friend through the mass of disoriented bodies. Isaac grabbed her wrist, squeezing hard enough to let her know he meant business. We need to move. Now! His tone was urgent, almost pleading, but Claire's heart ached at the thought of leaving Evelyn behind. Their eyes met across the hall just as another gunshot rang out, this one closer, sharper. The sound reverberated in her chest like a drumbeat of dread. Go! I'll find her! Claire shouted, her voice trembling, but determination ignited a fire within her. Claire, wait! You can't! Isaac's protests were swallowed by the screams crowding around them. In a heartbeat, Claire broke free from his grip, slipping into the fray. She didn't stop to look back, adrenaline fueling her every step. The party she thought would be a night of glamour had spiraled into a nightmare. As she twisted through the chaos, dodging fallen chairs and frantic guests, her mind raced. What were those men after? There had to be something more to this madness. She could feel it in her bones, a connection to some lurking danger that threatened more than just their party. Then, she found Evelyn, cornered against a wall, wide-eyed with terror. A man loomed over her, his face twisted into a snarl. He had a hold of her arm, and Evelyn's fear was palpable. Get away from her! Claire shouted, her throat hoarse, but the words burst out like a wild animal. Evelyn's eyes widened with relief, but the intruder turned, his lips curling in a sickening smile. Look who decided to play hero. Fueled by fear and rage, Claire lunged forward. Let her go. The man turned his attention away from Evelyn, sneering. And who are you to give orders? Just as he reached for Claire, time slowed. She could see every detail, the way his fingers curled, the flecks of danger in his eyes, and she braced herself, ready to fight or flee. Suddenly, she felt a sudden surge of energy behind her. It was the stranger from earlier, the one with the strange device. He moved with a fluidity that was almost unreal, flanking her and shoving the intruder away. Get her out of here. He barked at Claire, urgency ringing in his voice. Evelyn seized the moment, breaking free. Claire, let's go. But the room felt like it was closing in. More of the intruders poured in from the entrance, their presence like shadows creeping over the festivity's remnants. There's too many. Claire shouted. The stranger glanced back, eyes sharp and commanding. We don't have time. You need to trust me. In that moment, Claire realized trust was all they had left. Okay, lead the way. They bolted for the nearest set of double doors, pushing through the panicking crowd. The stranger pulled something from his pocket, a small circular device glowing ominously. What is that? Claire gasped as they sprinted. An emergency exit. Just stay close. A loud crash sounded to their left. A table hurled through the air, narrowly missing them, sending shards of glass clattering to the floor. Claire stumbled but regained her balance, adrenaline surging in her veins. Go, go. The stranger urged, already ahead. They reached the double doors, and Claire's heart raced. Just as they burst through, a gunshot echoed again, followed by shouts of chaos. The real world outside blurred into view, shrouded in darkness, leaving only the thrill of flight. And then it hit her. A big, overwhelming question as she stared out into the night. What lay beyond this door? Where are we going? She demanded, her voice quaking with uncertainty. The stranger hesitated, looking back at the chaos within one last time. Somewhere safe, or at least safer than here. Claire nodded, resolve hardening. But somewhere deep inside, a terrifying thought struck her. What if being outside was just the start? What horrors awaited on the other side of this night? As they rushed forward into the unknown, that question lingered in the air, haunting and unresolved. Could she truly escape, or was this only the beginning? The darkness enveloped them as Claire sprinted alongside the stranger, adrenaline coursing through her veins. The night air was thick, mingled with the acrid scent of smoke and fear. Behind them, screams faded, but the distant gunshots echoed like a heartbeat, reminding her of the chaos they were escaping. What's your name? Claire shouted, desperate for some clarity amidst the confusion. Call me Ray. He replied, glancing back as they rounded the corner of the building. His expression was resolute, a mask of urgency tinged with something else. Was it fear? She bit her lip, unsure whether to question further or focus on survival. Do you know what's happening? She pressed, but he only shook his head, brows knitted in concentration. They darted down an alley, the sound of their footsteps muffled by the chaos behind them. Ray skidded to a halt, pressing his back against the cold brick wall. Listen, we need to rest for a moment, he said, his voice low but steady. We'll draw too much attention if we keep running. Can you hear yourself think? Claire nodded, trying to steady her breath. Every thud of her heart felt like a warning bell. What do we do now? Ray produced the glowing device again and rotated it in his hand. This is a locator. Those guys back there? They're hunting something. People like us. We need to find out what they want before they find us again. Claire swallowed hard, the lump in her throat heavy with dread. Why were they after Evelyn? We need to go back. No. Ray's voice cut through the night, fierce enough to make her flinch. Evelyn is safer away from them. Trust me. We'll find her, but first we need to figure out what we're up against. It could be a matter of life or death. Claire felt her chest tighten. The weight of uncertainty pressed down on her. Life or death. She kept hearing variations of that phrase swirling around in her mind since the night began. Okay, she managed to say, though it felt like surrender. But how can we outsmart them? Ray's eyes lit with determination. We need to get to the main street. There's a safe house there, a place I know is protected. We can regroup and plan. But we have to move, now. They resumed their hurried pace, moving past flickering streetlights that barely pierced the darkness. Each shadow seemed alive, lurking just out of sight. Claire glanced over her shoulder, half expecting to see their pursuers behind them, but the concrete jungle remained cloaked in an unsettling stillness. Why do you have this device? Claire asked, both curious and frustrated by the lack of answers. Ray's jaw tensed. It's complicated. Let's just say I've dealt with situations like this before. I've been on both sides, and trust me, you don't want to fall into their hands. His tone left no room for argument, yet Claire couldn't decide if she was grateful or wary of his experience. A chill raced down her spine. What do you mean both sides? But before Ray could respond, they rounded a corner, and the street opened up, revealing a whole new world bathed in the glow of neon signs. The atmosphere buzzed with life, people huddled in laughter, lost in their own world, oblivious to the dangers Claire and Ray had escaped. Stay close, he murmured, pushing through the crowd with her at his side. But just as Claire began to breathe again, she felt a gaze fixed on her, penetrating, cold. She turned slowly, locking eyes with a figure across the street. He wore a suit as dark as the night, and his smile was predator-like, exuding an unmistakable sense of menace. Claire Ray whispered urgently, breaking her frozen state. Who is he? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. That's what we need to find out, Ray said, his voice strained. The crowd moved like a wave, yet Claire felt utterly isolated. Panic surged within her again as she realized the night was far from over. Move. Ray grabbed her hand and pulled her deeper into the throng. Fear and uncertainty mingled within her. Were they truly safe now, or was this yet another beginning of another nightmare? Behind them, shadows began to shift, and the man in the suit stepped forward, eyes gleaming with malicious intent. What is he going to do? Claire gasped, her heart racing anew. And in that moment, she knew that whatever lay ahead was about to become much more dangerous than the hell they had just escaped. They weaved through the crowd, the thrumming music pulsing around them like a wild heartbeat. Neon lights flickered overhead, but Claire couldn't shake the feeling that darkness was lurking just beyond the colorful facade. Ray's grip was firm, almost possessive, as he guided her away from the figure in the suit, but she couldn't ignore the tremor of fear in her stomach. Where do we go? Claire gasped. The crowd pressed in on them, faces blurring into an indistinguishable mass. Not far. Ray replied, urgency edging his voice. He scanned the sea of bodies, searching for an exit or perhaps a hideaway. There's a bar up ahead. We'll find a moment there. Just as they approached the entrance, the man in the suit emerged from the throng behind them. He moved smoothly, like a predator honing in on his prey. Claire's breath hitched in her throat as she noticed the way people instinctively moved aside for him, their laughter fading into whispers. Ray pulled her closer, as if the simple act of togetherness could shield them from what was closing in. Keep your head down, he murmured, sounding like the man was more than just a passing threat. Inside the bar, the air was thick with the scent of alcohol and sweat, laughter spilling from behind polished wood. Ray led her to a small booth, where they sank into the shadows. Claire's heart thudded painfully in her chest, and the noise faded slightly as she focused on the urgency in Ray's eyes. What now? She asked, her voice trembling. Ray pulled the locator out again, the light flickering eagerly. We wait. I need to see if he's looking for us. Claire nodded, her mind drifting back to Evelyn. We can't just hide forever. We've got to find her. Ray glanced toward the entrance, where the man was now engaged in conversation with a bartender, his movements poised and confident. Look, this isn't just about hiding. They have resources, connections. If we want to get Evelyn back, we need a plan. The weight of his words settled heavily. Every moment felt steeped in too many variables, too many unknowns. Suddenly, an eruption of laughter pierced through the bar, and Claire turned instinctively. The group at the next booth was celebrating, tossing back shots, but it was the newcomer, a tall woman in a glittering dress, stepping into the bar, that caught her eye. She moved with a predatory grace, and Claire felt a chill. "There she is," Ray whispered, his tone alert. Claire's focus returned to the dark-suited man, who now seemed to be studying her through narrowed eyes. The woman stopped in her tracks at his table, and Claire could see the flicker of recognition between them. Her heart thundered against her ribs. Was this woman part of the enemy they were trying to escape? "We need to leave," Claire said urgently. "What?" "No, not yet." But before Ray could finish, the woman strolled over with a confident smile, fixing her gaze on Claire like she was a puzzle to be solved. Well, what do we have here?" she cooed, her voice smooth yet sharp. Claire's pulse raced, a palpable tension hanging in the air. Ray tensed beside her, the warning clear on his face. "Who do you think you are?" Claire shot back, trying to sound braver than she felt. The woman laughed, but it was devoid of warmth. "Just someone who's very interested in your little predicament." Ray moved, instinctively shielding Claire as if he could protect her from this sudden threat. "We're not interested in playing games," he growled, but the woman's smile only widened. "Oh, but this is no game, darling. This is much more than you know." Before Claire could respond, the man in the suit stood, his dark eyes fixed directly on her. "Are you ready to face your fate?" The words slid out like honey, thick with menace. As panic flooded through her, Claire felt the ground shift beneath her feet. They were standing on the precipice of a truth that might unravel everything. "What do you want from us?" Claire demanded, her voice steadier than she felt. The woman leaned closer, her breath hot against Claire's ear. "Let us just say there's a reason you were being hunted tonight. A reason you have to uncover." And with those words, Claire sensed the storm of revelations swirling around her. The danger sharpened, leaving her wondering if escaping the night's horror was truly possible or if it had only just begun. The atmosphere in the bar thickened, air crackling with palpable tension. Claire's heart raced, the implications of the woman's words spiraling in her mind. "A reason," echoed back to her, sending a chill down her spine. Her eyes darted over to Ray, whose expression hardened, a mixture of resolve and fear flashing behind his gaze. The woman stepped back slightly, adjusting her shimmering dress as if she relished the moment. "You see, Claire," she said, her voice a mocking purr, "your very existence has become a temptation for those who play in shadows." Ray clenched his jaw. "You should leave now," he warned, low and threatening. "Oh, darling," she winked, "but I'm just getting started." Her eyes danced to the man in the suit, who remained a looming presence in the background, watching with an unsettling calm. Claire gripped Ray's hand tighter, feeling the sweat on her palms. She couldn't shake the feeling that their time was running out. "We need to go, Ray. Now." "We can't abandon the investigation," Ray replied, urgency coloring his tone, but his eyes flickered toward the exit. It was becoming increasingly clear that they would have to make a choice soon: fight or flee. "Listen carefully," the woman said, her smile gleaming in the dim light. "If you truly want to find your friend, you're going to need to trust me in ways you can't even begin to imagine." Claire opened her mouth, ready to deny her offer outright, but Ray interrupted. "And why should we do that? What's in it for you?" The corners of her lips curled knowingly. "Oh, sweetheart, everything. You have something I want." The man took a step closer, cutting through the crowd like a knife. "It's time you understood the stakes, Claire," he said, his voice smooth, yet commanding. "You owe it to yourself to know who you truly are." A whirlwind of questions blurred through her mind. Who was he? What did he mean? "Who I am doesn't matter," Claire insisted, a rush of defiance surging through her. "All that matters is finding Evelyn." Suddenly, the laughter and music of the bar faded, an all-consuming silence settling around them. Claire scanned the faces of the crowd, who seemed oblivious to the tension radiating from their booth. It was as if they were suspended outside reality, just the four of them, locked in this dangerous game. "You don't know the lengths they'll go to keep her from you," the woman whispered, leaning in conspiratorially. "Do you really think you can save her alone? Think of what awaits behind those doors." She gestured toward the exit, where shadows seemed to linger like ghosts waiting to pounce that a glimmer of doubt crept in. Claire feared what lay ahead, but the thought of uncertainty gnawed at her. The desperation for Evelyn ignited her resolve. "Tell me what you know," she pressed, heart hammering. "Meet me at midnight," the woman said smoothly, a glint of mischief sparking in her eyes. "I'll lay everything out for you. But know this, once you step onto that path, there's no turning back. Choose wisely." Before Claire could respond, the woman turned, seamlessly slipping back through the crowd, her glittering dress a fading memory. The man remained, casting a shadow that made her skin crawl. "Go to her," he urged, his voice silk against the growing tension, "if you dare." Claire shook her head, trying to dismiss the heaviness engulfing her heart. "Ray, we can't just trust them." "No," Ray said firmly, eyes darting. "But we can't ignore that there's something bigger happening. We have to decide what's next." The clock on the wall ticked with merciless urgency. There they were, teetering on the edge of a truth that felt like quicksand, both suffocating and alluring. Would they end up entangled in a scheme beyond comprehension, or could they find a way to rescue Evelyn? The stakes were laid bare before them: solve the mystery or plunge deeper into the darkness. "Midnight is only a few hours away," Ray murmured, voice tight. "We need a plan." A realization hit Claire with stunning clarity. What if trusting the enemy was the only way forward? But that left a deeper question lingering, one that threatened to unravel the very fabric of her decisions. What awaited them at midnight? With resolve hardening within her, Claire took a deep breath. "Get ready for whatever it is we might face. We need to know the truth, and we need it fast." And as the chaos resumed around them, the clock ticked on, minutes slipping away, leading them toward an inevitable confrontation. Claire stood at the edge of uncertainty, heart racing, hands trembling. The weight of the night pressed heavily on her. Evelyn's safety, the threat of shadowy figures, and the decision to trust the enemy hung in the air like a fragile thread ready to snap. "Midnight will reveal all," she whispered, staring at the door where the woman had disappeared. Her words felt like both a promise and a warning. What if they were being set up? But deep down, a spark ignited the glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, there was a way out of this nightmare. Ray leaned closer, urgency flaring in his eyes. "We need to come up with a plan, Claire. If we're going to confront her, we need to be ready for anything," he urged, his urgency breaking through the haze of doubt. "I know," Claire replied, breathing in deeply. The chatter of the bar faded into a dull murmur as she focused on Ray's face. "But we can't just walk into this blindly. What if it's a trap? Every moment we wait is another moment Evelyn is in danger." "We don't have that luxury," Ray said tightly, scanning the room for any sign of the dark-suited man. "We need to regroup with her." Claire felt a strong determination rise within her. "Then we'll find her," she asserted. "But we need to go back into that chaos, split up if we have to. I can't leave her behind." Their plan formed quickly: a split search through the bar and surrounding area, meet back at the alley in half an hour. The clock ticked down mercilessly, the hands edging closer to midnight. Claire's heart pounded like the countdown to a race, but she couldn't shake the feeling that danger was lurking just outside the bar, waiting for them. "Okay," Ray nodded, his resolve mirrored her own. "Let us move." They zipped out of the booth and weaved through the crowd, adrenaline surging as the environment buzzed with oblivious revelers. Claire knew the stakes had escalated. They couldn't drop their guard even for a second. The bar felt alive, a cacophony of laughter, clinking glasses, and heated conversations that seemed to mock their intense urgency. As they ventured deeper into the crowd, Claire's pulse thundered in her ears. But just as they approached the exit, Claire caught movement from the corner of her eye. The dark-suited man, now closer than ever, his gaze locking onto hers with hawk-like precision. "Go!" Ray hissed urgently, pushing Claire towards the side exit. They slipped into the alley, emerging into the cool night that felt like a breath of fresh air compared to the stifling tension inside. The alley was shadowed and narrow, damp with mystery. Claire quickly pulled out her phone, desperately hoping that Evelyn might have managed to get a message through. Nothing. "Claire." Ray's voice broke through her thoughts. "We're running out of time." Let us check the back of the bar. Claire shouted, darting down the path, determination fueling her legs. Maybe Evelyn had run there, seeking a way out. The adrenaline pushed her forward. She couldn't let fear control her. They reached the back and found a group of people gathered, anxiously whispering. "Excuse me, have you seen a woman in a blue dress?" Claire implored, desperation clawing at her voice. "Yeah," one of them replied, glancing nervously down the street. "She went that way after the gunfire? Claire echoed, heart sinking. Ray's hand squeezed her shoulder. "We need to go now." They sprinted down a side street, shadows stretching across the pavement. The dread of losing Evelyn churned in Claire's gut like a tempest. What if they were too late? And then, just as they rounded a corner, they saw her, Evelyn, standing in the moonlight, her expression a mixture of fear and relief. "Claire! Ray!" she shouted, tears glimmering in her eyes. "I thought I lost you." "Not a chance," Claire said fiercely, rushing to pull her into a warm embrace. "Are you okay?" Ray asked over Claire's shoulder, protective instincts flaring. "I'm fine, but we need to move." "They're looking for you," Evelyn urged, eyes wide with panic. "Do you know where we can go?" Claire asked, urgency lacing her voice. Evelyn nodded, glancing back towards the way they came. "I saw an old diner a few blocks down." Suddenly, the air shifted, charged with danger. From the shadows emerged two figures, the very men who had barged into the party moments before. Claire's heart raced as they stopped, smirking, dominance radiating off them. "Didn't he think we'd find you here?" the taller one sneered, each word dripping with malice. Claire stepped in front of Evelyn, a fire igniting in her veins. "You want us? You'll have to get through me first." A wave of adrenaline surged, her chest tightening with raw determination. "Oh, how noble," the shorter one mocked. "But we already had enough fun tonight. Let us wrap this up, shall we?" Before Claire could react, an explosion of sound shattered the night. A deafening roar erupted from the street as a black SUV screeched around the corner, speeding toward them. Tires screeching, the vehicle careened to a stop, swinging open to reveal the woman in the shimmering dress. "Get in!" she shouted fiercely, urgency dancing in her eyes. "What? Trust you?" Claire exclaimed, doubts swirling once again. "No time. If you don't, you won't have anyone left to trust." With the men closing in fast, Claire shot a glance at Ray and Evelyn. Every instinct yelled to run toward the vehicle despite the risks. A mouthful of courage filled her throat. "Let us go," she cried, grabbing Evelyn's wrist and bolting for the SUV. Heart racing, she leapt inside with Evelyn, Ray jumping in just as the men lunged. The door slammed shut, vibrating with urgency. "What do you know?" Claire demanded, breathless. The driver's face was determined, her eyes fierce. "More than you think. But we'll explain at headquarters. At midnight." With that, the vehicle shot forward, leaving the shadows and chaos behind. Claire found herself staring into Evelyn's eyes, seeing both fear and determination reflected back. As the city sped by, the clock in Claire's mind ticked down to midnight. Everything was about to change. Truths would unravel, destinies would collide, and she'd find out exactly who she was meant to become. The air was thick with anticipation as they charged into the unknown. Midnight approached fast, and the stakes couldn't be higher. This was the moment everything led to. Would they find answers or face unimaginable danger? One truth echoed in her mind: they were all in this together, and whatever awaited them at midnight, they would face it head-on. And just like that, Claire felt a spark of resolve binding them. This journey was only just beginning. Now, the moment was here. What would unfold at midnight? Only time would tell. Don't let this story end here. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss out on our next exclusive adventure. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm and keep these stories coming. Let me know your theories in the comments. What do you think will happen next? Don't wait. Share with 5 friends who need to see this conclusion and show your support. The countdown to the next chapter is on.